In this video, we will continue our work on SQLite database. Last time we created an update. Now we will push that update. So let's come back to our code that we were running earlier. So let's see our files. So these were the files that we had created. Let's now continue developing further. So let's go to the file called report fragment, and in report fragment actually now what we need to do is that we will have to write an override for the onPause method, and in that onPause method we will have to update the report stores copy of our report. So we go here, we write at override public void onPause super dot onPause report store dot get activity dot update report report. Now we have actually pushed our update, but we cannot simply run the program and see what we have done. So we will have to wait further to write some more code to see that what we have done to our database. So just to make sure that everything is compiling, we will still run our program, but it will not show us any other functionality. So as you see that it is showing us a blank screen, so that is fine. Let's now continue and try to read from the database. So we have done some writing, now let's do the reading. So the reading data from SQLite is done using the query method, and in SQLite database the query method has a good amount of work that you need to do. So there are let's look at it, that how do we make use of the query method, and then we try to use it for reading our database. So let's go and continue developing our code. So in order to do that, we will go to the report store, and in the report store we will write another method. So we had put a method here to write. Now let's just add another method for querying. So private cursor. Let's first write the code and then I will explain you that what we are trying to do here. Reports string where clause string where args and enter cursor will do. So the method that we are going to use will be the mdatabase dot query method. In that method we will give the name of the report table So report table dot name. We want all the columns. So basically the null value here selects all the columns. And then we want to satisfy a clause with certain given arguments, and we are currently not having any preference, or we are not even defining any order. So this is our simple query reports method. Now let me quickly explain to you that what it is. So in the SQLite database, this first field here signifies the table name, and the second field here signifies the columns that we want to read, because we want to read all the columns. We have given it a null argument. Then this is our where clause, just like simple SQL query. This is our where clause, and these are our where arguments. If we so we give our where clause of type string and the where arguments as a string array, and then we have a choice to see that how we want our results. So we can have a result group by. We don't want it, so we give null. Having, so we give null. And order by, so we don't want any particular order, so we again give null. So over the time you will understand these different variables which you may choose to return value in a certain order from certain columns only. But for the time being, it's just important that if you want all columns, this is the null, and then you can do the where clause and where arguments. So let's now move forward. So this is not finished yet because we have to return this cursor. So yes, okay, this will come here. So this closes. Okay, so this is actually a redundant. So yes, so our query reports method is complete. Now we will use a cursor wrapper, because this because whatever the value is returned to us, we need to make use of it. So the method to so the way to do that is to write a cursor wrapper. So we create a new class and we give it the name report cursor wrapper. We extend it from cursor wrapper, and then we just create a constructor. Yeah, so that's our very basic wrapper for the cursor, and it has all the methods that the parent class has. Now let us try to do something specific from this cursor wrapper with respect to our program. So public report get report, because you want to read, so get report. Now we will be reading the values that are coming from our table. So we will be reading a UUID, which would be nothing but get string get column index. So from the column report table dot calls dot uuid. So from the column uuid, get the string and assign it to our own string, that is we have read it, and then similarly we will read the title equal to get string get column report table dot columns dot title, and then a string, well, not a string, our date is a long, so long date equal to get long get column report table dot columns dot date. So now you see that I am using the method get long and I am returning it to a long, and then int is resolved equal to get int get column report table dot calls dot resolved. So earlier we had put a 0 or 1 value into the resolved, and now we are trying to read that. So return null. Now we need to return here our report. So what we need are not only just report, but a report with an appropriate UID. So now we will have to add another constructor in the report, because the previous report constructor is like this, and this. So what we need to do now is to remove this, because now we are generating our report very differently, and we just say uuid dot random uid, and then we just say public report uuid id, so mid equal to id, mdate equal to new date. Yeah, so we have added a new constructor which takes a UID as input and sets the MID to that UID, and in the another case it just generates a UID, and then it calls the second constructor. Now let's now go back to our report cursor wrapper, and let's try to finish this. So we had got all the values here. Now from these values we will try to make a report, because now we have the constructor ready. So report equal to new report uuid dot from string and uuid string, and report dot set title report dot set date report dot set resolved is resolved is not equal to 0. So let's come here. First we will have to actually create a date object. So new date here. Hopefully that works. So when you are adding import for date, make sure that you are adding the import java.util, and then the set resolved. And before we finish, we now return this report. So by doing these pieces of code, we have now read a value from the database. So if you go back, we did few things. We defined a cursor where we gave the table name, where clause, where args. Then we went into the report, and then we defined the cursor wrapper where we read the data and created a new report. Now one last step, we will have to now use the report cursor wrapper, and we have to create a list of reports from the so that we can display it. So we need to wrap our cursor and get back to write some more code so that we can return a list of report. So let's go to the report store, and this time when we do query reports, so instead of cursor, let's use just the new wrapper that we have created, just report cursor wrapper, and query reports is fine, where clause and where arguments are fine. And then instead of cursor, we return new report cursor wrapper cursor. Okay, so now we have fixed our original method of query, because now we have created a cursor wrapper, so we wanted to use that. Now let's go back to another part of this code. So yes, so here if you see, we were returning an empty array list. Now this part is not nearly necessary. We now need to create the reports, and we need to return that list. So we are just saying that list reports equal to new array list, and then we go into report cursor wrapper cursor equal to query reports, and we don't have any where clause, and nor we are giving any where arguments, because we want to read everything. So try cursor dot move to first, that is we start from the very beginning, and while there is anything left to read, so we are saying while cursor is after last negation. So while cursor is not last, that is there is something left to read, we are simply saying that keep reading and adding. to next. Try, and we have to just make sure that we close the cursor. We will do it in the finally method using the finally block, so that we are always sure that cursor is closed, and then we will return the reports. So we had started with an empty array list, but now we are returning the reports. So as you saw, that we started from the cursor from the very beginning and went till the end using this piece of code here. So we also have many methods here: move to first, move to next, etc., which you can see in the documentation. Now let's go to the another method in this same class called getReport, because we need to also change that as well. So currently it is just returning null. Let's remove that and write report cursor wrapper cursor equal to query reports report table columns UID plus as you see, it is the same way as we used last time, just to make sure that we take a string as a string value, and so that we can save against the SQL query injection attack. So SQL injection attack. So new string d dot to string report cursor. Oh yes. Then write if cursor dot get count count equal to 0, means there is nothing, then return null. Otherwise move to first and return cursor dot get report. And finally close the cursor. So for getting a report, we start with the cursor, with the cursor wrapper, and then we make sure that the cursor starts from the beginning, and if it is 0, then it reports null, otherwise it moves and start returning the report. Now basically this piece of code had made many things available. So now we can input our reports, and we can query the database, and we can actually show some real reports. So when we have done all that, let's try to run our program. So let's see what it can now do. So we run the program. Press the button, say fast, say resolved, come back, and now you can see that our original functionality is back again. So everything is working again, except that now we are using database instead of using the earlier array list. Now there's just one small thing left, because we need to just make sure that whenever we do edit and we press the back button, things still work. So what we are going to do is to make some changes in our file called report list fragment, and in that we had first created a report adapter which was giving us all the views. So now in this adapter we have to just implement one more method called set reports. So after we implement the set reports, we can just be fine, and hopefully we will have to, after a little bit of more cleaning, we should be able to run our program. So set reports, reports, and then we go. So code is compiling. Now we go to the report list fragment, and in the update UI method, where in the else loop we just set it to the reports. Now everything should work. Let's try to run it and see its functionality. Okay, third back button solved. So now, as you can see, that now everything will work as it was working earlier. So yes, so now our application is complete. In this application you saw how to make use of SQLite database. So earlier we implemented the application using simply an array list. Later we changed it to SQLite database, and still everything is working. So thank you very much. Please revise this lesson and try to develop the application yourself. In case you find a problem and need help in reading the code, you may download the code from Beginner Range Guide, as I told you earlier. That code will be slightly different than the one we have developed here. So my advice is that just follow the video and write the code. So yes, with this we end our lecture on the SQLite database.